I think that's what's so special about Batman and also about our show is that you're seeing like where pain goes when you don't treat it with care.
Hey, this is Sam Stone with Den of Geek here at New York Comic Con 2024 with the cast and creator of The Penguin. Guys, thanks for sitting down with me and talking about our favorite crime saga, which audiences can see on Max and HBO on Sundays. I'm glad we're doing this after episode 4 because, woo, Nelly, the chips are down, the battle lines are drawn. It's kind of a heck of a thing. And, you know, Lauren, one of the things I find fascinating is Sofia Falcone is always inextricably linked to the Hangman in the comics, but in the show, she's as much a victim of the Hangman in a lot of ways as the Hangman's like murder victims. What was it about flipping the script with Sofia and taking that character in that direction for the story?
Well, it's as you said it, I was just excited at the idea of like flipping something on its head, and I liked the idea of sort of speaking in a larger way about how we often like label people as crazy and how historically we've labeled women, as hysterical, especially with mental institutions in the past. And I thought a lot about Rosemary Kennedy in that regard, who received a lobotomy in her 20s because her father put her in an institution. And so I just wanted to dig into that and sort of, in a way, not that this is the best way to put it, but like take advantage of the way that we think of the Hangman and of Sofia in the comics. And then the way Sofia enters the show, she does enter as a cipher, and it's through really Oz's lens that we see her. And so it's easy to side with Oz in that way, and it's easy to call her crazy. And so it's a little bit not intended to be a game for the audience in a way, but I think we all can fall prey to just labeling someone easily without knowing their full story. And then so it felt essential to give her a full story.
Cristin, Sofia's just seized control of her own narrative, and she's basically taken control of the Falcone crime syndicate, which I think, as a character, that's got to be very liberating, and as an actor, that's got to be very cathartic. How is it taking Sofia into the back half of this season and really kind of giving her that empowerment in that direction?
I mean, it's as fun as it looks. Like it's fun. And because you understand her backstory and her history, I think that only like deepens. I can only speak for myself, like how much I wanted her to have that experience and how much I wanted her to sort of let loose, because this has been, I was about to say it's like such a long time coming. And obviously I feel like that as someone who like loves her and roots for her. Yeah, I stand by it anyway.
She's a character that's meticulously planned out how she's going to stage this coup.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like she could give the Batman a run for his money.
Absolutely, she could. She's so smart, and she's so, I think she's also so instinctual. That's why she can really, I think her and Oz are such good adversaries. Like, yes, there's a history there and they know each other, but she can like smell when he's lying. There's that great line of like, I trusted him even when every cell in my body told me not to. And it's like she operates on that level and is surrounded by people who aren't in touch with that.
Rhenzy, there was a moment where Victor literally, and I say this knowing that like the New York Port Authority is like a block and a half away, where he's at the Gotham Port Authority and he has the option to follow his past, follow presumably the love of his life, and get the hell out of Gotham City, but he stays. He stays at the chance of glory, even though he knows that Oz is just as likely the guy to put him in the ground. Like, walk me through that moment.
It's one of those things that, so much goes into that kind of decision for Victor and that moment that he makes that. There's many things pulling him to California, away from Oz. And then there's, I guess, more pulling him towards Oz, because ultimately that's the decision he makes. I think there's so many things that go into it. A lot of it's got to do with, to start off with, just money is an incentive for people who don't ever, if you don't have enough of it, it's a very strong motivating factor to have that. And then, of course, deeper than that, it's like, he's lost a lot just recently with his family, and Oz kind of offers him something that isn't just the money and a better life, but it's also, he offers him, sort of a community of people that he can be around. And Oz, a person that can come in and kind of be this older mentor, father, brother, kind of this older, mentoree and mentor relationship. And then apart from that, it's also a part of being something bigger than just yourself. Now you can be a part of something that's exciting and it's not going to be easy. It's not an easy road, but there's something, you know, rewarding off of the challenge, and we're going to go for something massive, and you can be a part of something bigger than just yourself. And I think there's so many things that go into him deciding that.
I mean, you mentioned losing his family, and that, you know, the Penguin takes place like a week or two after the events of the Batman, and like life comes at you fast, but damn, dude, that's a lot to process within that. Like, how is it processing somebody that hasn't recovered from just losing their entire family in the flash of a bomb?
Yeah, it's something that sort of dawned on me while we were shooting, was this idea that, like, there's so many people who never have time is a luxury. And to have enough time to sit back and really methodically plan out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and the path that you want in life, a lot of people don't have that luxury. A lot of people, you know, you got to put your left foot forward and the right foot and then the left foot, and that's all you can really think about. You can't think about the mile ahead. And so it's something that I think Victor's going through, where he doesn't really get the opportunity to sit and think, is this the right move? Isn't it? Isn't it? He has to make decisions, immediately all the time. Otherwise, you got to, it's like what do they say about sharks? That if you're not swimming, you're drowning. And it's almost like, I think in that situation, he doesn't have much time to make these decisions and make well thought out things. I think he's going with his instinct, he's going with his gut, and this is where it's leading him.
Michael, let's start with old Johnny Vitti. So, Johnny Vitti is this made man. When we first see him at the beginning of the series, he's made like, this is the guy that runs stuff in Gotham City. Having said that, over the course of the series, he's progressively been undermined, outsmarted, outmoved. Like, how is it being a character that's literally been caught with their pants down as the series progresses?
boy, has he. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I see him as the ultimate mafia soldier, right? Like, a lot of people in this show are going for higher levels of power and this and that, and I feel like Johnny Vitti is perfectly fine in his place and knows his place in the family, and it's just to run that business. But yeah, it always sucks.
Is that why he's having sex with the boss's wife? I think you better dig a little deeper with this contentment that he feels about his position.
Well, I mean, you saw her. She's really cute.
I know, but still.
She was all there, and
consider that to be
Johnny
part of
V's
his
a man,
position.
and I think it's ultimately it's his downfall, right? But women do that to men.
They
guys
blaming her.
They sure.
Did you see? He blamed her.
No, women do that to men because men are so susceptible. Is what I'm saying. Men are just like, hot piece of ass. Okay, I just want to be clear.
Speaking
Absolutely clear. This is gonna go.
She's never doing this with you.
Speaking of family,
Should I just leave?
I just couldn't resist. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, dude.
Deirdre, let's put the spotlight on you.
Yeah,
That's why they didn't let
Fish
us
in a
have any
barrel.
scenes.
I'm gonna pay real attention to this one.
So if there's one presence that looms over Oz's life, the one person he's looking to, that his Achilles heel, perhaps, is his mother, Frances. Like, how is it having this this looming presence over Oz in all the scenes you have with him, and kind of having that presence even when you're not in scenes together?
That's right. I'm looming presence all the way through. I'm going to say that I don't even think I realized until toward the end how much Colin gave me power. Like, I kind of assumed I had it. And there was one moment towards the end of I don't know if you've seen the whole thing, but towards the end where he just took the love away. Like, he just literally, one day, the love was gone. And that day, on that set, I realized, he's been just offering me so that was part of it, was just, he gave it to me. So therefore I had it, I didn't have to do a whole hell of a lot.
I mean, in terms of people that maybe are have been removed from power by the system. I mean, you look at Salvatore Maroni, and in the Penguin, he's behind bars. A lot of it is him sitting on his hands as the Maroni crime syndicate has kind of been double-crossed by this Oz Cobb.
So, wait. So you think when a crime boss is behind bars that he doesn't have any agency in the criminal world? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, Clancy, what I would say is I think as the series progresses, Sal finds himself in an increasingly frustrating position, especially watching his wife and his son and everybody kind of be gripped by everything and being blamed for starting this gang war in the first place. How is it kind of exploring the frustrations of Sal Maroni as he's watching all of this happen in his city?
Yeah, well, he did get a little angry that he was cornered into taking the heat for Falcone's. And what's his name? Antonio Alberto, right? See, I don't even know.
Can't even remember the guy's name.
So, but yeah, it's like one of those Falcones, it's like the Falcone kid, and and so yeah, but as soon as that happens, I mean, he doesn't like Oz. He doesn't think Oz is worth scraping off his shoe. I mean. He doesn't
That's
believe.
where he makes his first mistake.
And come on, yes, don't give too much away. So when Oz has cornered him, he's decided, okay, now I have to take control of this, and I don't see him powerless in the jail. I got Shori Agadosh-Laban. She's Mrs. Maroni. And Mrs. Maroni can handle herself. My son, yeah, he's my son. Isn't this strange? Like, it's all about family.
Yeah.
This show.
It's
all about
completely,
family.
Mothers, sons,
Mothers,
family.
sons,
Yeah,
wives,
like what you'll
husbands,
do
kids,
for your family,
brothers,
what they
sisters.
can do if they get a hold of your
Right.
family. It's all about the vulnerability of love. Do not love is
Do not love.
is the moral of the story. I think that includes your character as well.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
Do not love.
Or lust.
Yeah.
Lauren, this strikes me as an interesting creative challenge because you're in between two Batman movies. You're telling the most grounded superhero show ever. I mean, there's presumably a guy dressed as an armored bat somewhere with a really cool car, but we're not going to see this dude. And you're fitting in all these Easter eggs at the same time. What are some of the how did you take those kind of creative challenges in stride to build such a gripping story?
It helped a lot to know that we were starting a week after the first film, and I knew that it's a rise to power story on some level for Oz. So I knew generally where I needed to leave him as a character, and then really the beauty of it is that I had a lot of freedom within that to play. Matt was really gracious about, saying, yeah, you can create new canon. And for me, the most important and essential thing in any story, no matter if you're between two films or anything, is the characters and making sure that you do the work to have the characters feel alive and rich and complicated, that you have backstory for them, whether you fully see it or not on screen, and that you know where they're emotionally going, and that you're really trying to track that and make sure that if things feel surprising, that it feels in line with those characters. So I think in a lot of ways, they really led me and the other writers to the paths that we took. And of course, you're trying to just keep yourself excited too, and trying to subvert things that you've seen before. And I mean, I'm a huge fan of, superhero fare, and I grew up reading comics, so I'm familiar with the genre, I think, enough to feel like, but I wish I could do this or that sometimes, or I wish I had characters like this, or I wish we could spend more time with these types of people or see more of the world. And so I was just grateful that I had the opportunity to do that.
Cristin, there's a great standout moment you have in episode 3 where you have this entire speech. And it really, in a way, it feels like the thesis of the entire show, that everybody deals with their pain and their trauma in their own different ways. Now that we know what Sofia's pain is, how is it having that as a foundational basis for your character and kind of building the character? And because that really does feel like a self-actualized moment.
First of all, I was lucky enough that I had the first 4 scripts before we started, and we'd had such extensive talks, so I knew and continued, throughout. So I had a lot to build with. And I love that you say that, because that speech is it's actually kind of weirdly a vulnerable moment for her in a very unsafe environment, not just the club, but Oz, near just all of it, how people look at her when she walks in a room. And, and I think that's also what makes her have that turn when they're outside and she's smoking and she's trauma cells. She also is part of it. I don't know. I think that's what's so special about Batman and also about our show, is that you're seeing where pain goes when you don't treat it with care,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Rhenzy, there's a great scene of you in the restaurant where the waiter's trying to talk over you, and Oz is like, hey, screw off, man. But in a lot of ways, I think that's the moment where Vic really kind of sees that in Oz, like, okay, maybe I can hitch my wagon to this guy more than ever, pickles and tacos aside. Like, what was, kind of walk me through that scene and kind of what brings Vic coming back to Oz?
Yeah, that scene is that's a real special one. It's the first time that Victor gets kind of even somewhat vulnerable in front of Oz, and I think it's this moment where he sees that Oz also kind of cares about what Victor has to say and about his family, and he's vulnerable enough to kind of tell him about his father, and he almost empathizes with it. That's not right, that's not fair. But that's America, and life's a hustle and that kind of thing. But it's like I think Victor for a moment kind of sees Oz in a different light. It's like, all right, you actually do how much can we say? You actually do care, or at least there's like a glint of it in that moment. I think their relationship grows over the course of the show, but I think those are the moments where those seeds are kind of planted, and at the beginning there, and so it's part of it for sure. It's part of it, and then later Oz throws that back in his face and kind of you don't get awards for dying in the projects or whatever, and that's a brutal thing to say, but also at the same time, it's like, in Oz's point of view, I'm trying to help you, I'm giving you things that you've never had before. I'm giving you an opportunity that you never had before. And I think for a moment, Victor sees, like, maybe he's right, If I do want this kind of thing, maybe the right move is to stay.
What do you find unique about Lauren's writing that reading those scripts and kind of turning those pages, like, I need to be a part of this? Like, what was the big thing that stuck out for you with Lauren's scripts?
I can only speak for myself, which was I would turn a page and say, "Ooh, I can't believe she went there." Okay, good. That sounds. And then you turn another page, and go, "Oh my God, she went there." And then you turn another page, and she just keeps going and going and going. And so it's a pretty original thing. I mean, everybody says it compares it to Sopranos and all the rest of that, but it's not Sopranos. It's its own thing.
The fact that it's all in this crazy world that we know is the comic world, or whatever you want to call it, right? The Batman world, that world. That it's grounded in such a reality that you're like, I mean, she's brilliant. You heard her talking earlier today on the panel, and she was talking about the research that she did for Sofia's character in Kennedy's Daughter, and I was just like, oh my God, I'd never heard that story before. And you're just like,
you guys find too, like, I would have a question. And in a normal situation with a normal human, which she is not, you would, call them up and be like, so this and this and this don't go together for me. Like, I think maybe this bridge, and she would understand exactly what I was talking about, but she would also have an answer to every question. I mean, and she wasn't grasping. She wasn't trying to, like, calm the actor down. There was not a tiny second of this thing that she hadn't lived in, dreamed in, thought about, made a very particular style choice for, made a very particular choice from her heart about how each character's was working. She had been inside each of our hearts and heads. Yeah.
They affect each other.
I've never worked with somebody whose answers were so complete. I kind of feel like I sort of almost as an actor kind of carve out a little territory, but going like, this is an undigested piece. I'll be able to, and nothing was undigested. And so it was mostly about just like learning from her and then,
Well, in terms of process, was there any specific line in the character description or the script where you saw that and you were just like, I know who this person is. I know exactly how to build this person. Like, was there any kind of gateway light bulb moment for you reading those character descriptions or scripts?
For me personally, I can do all the work and I can do everything to prepare myself for that moment. I was joking earlier, saying that I put on that costume, I put on that pinky ring, and I'm like, oh, I'm him. But not until you do it. You can practice it or run lines with someone, but it never happens until it happens.
But this one, I felt like for me, there were so many elements. There were just like so many elements that I was putting in place in terms of the homework that I didn't feel what you're talking about until there, and then like, okay, I've done all I can about this. Here we go. And a lot of those elements were like sort of from the outside in, the dialect that Jessica and Colin had worked on and found, and that I had to learn, the way that Francis's apartment looked, the way Francis comported herself, all that, and then her disease, and then and so there was all of this. But then when I finally got there, it was just like, okay, now just live in it. Right, but the writing like held it. The writing held it up. And that doesn't always happen. Sometimes you get, okay, now's the moment when I'm going to live it, and it's like, the chair just falls out from under you. You're like, oh, I should have done more homework. I guess I didn't do enough.
There's a beautiful moment in episode 3 where Sofia has this huge speech about everybody looking to self-medicate in some different kind of way. And I think one of the recurring themes throughout the entire series is this idea of pain and how people treat their pain, because there's that underlying thing for Oz and every single character. What do you think is the pain that drives each of your characters in this story?
Mine is so secret, I can't tell you.
Yeah, I don't know.
You
if
know,
we
I
can
mean,
give it
you'll
up
know
yet,
if you watch all the way to the end, but I don't think I'm allowed to tell
all
you.
about family.
Yeah, it is all about family.
It's all about family. Which is, a lot of your pain comes from your family, but a lot of the relief from that pain also.
Yeah, mine is out there to be seen in the 5th episode, right? When he talks to Sofia, and I don't want to spoil anything, but the story that he tells her is very real, and it's very personal, and it's very familiar.
Yeah. And of course, audiences can see that pain and see the next step of the story on HBO and Max. Watch The Penguin every Sunday. This has been Sam Stone with Den of Geek. Stay tuned for more New York Comic Con 2024 coverage. Guys, thanks for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having us.